Scarlet Witch never made sense in Doctor Strange 2, but I think I have a theory that could explain why that was. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. I know that this is a little late. I know y'all probably haven't even given two thoughts about Doctor Strange 2 for a while now. Ever since this movie came out, I have to tell you, it kept bothering me, and I kept feeling like something just wasn't right about Scarlet Witch, but I just couldn't put my finger on it until now. As you know, the Scarlet Witch took a dark path in Doctor Strange 2, but her plan in the movie didn't seem to make a lot of sense. As a matter of fact, her plan may support another theory for something bigger coming up in the MCU. So let's just start from the beginning for some of you all that might not be all the way caught up. In the Disney Plus series WandaVision, we saw the pinnacle of Wanda's depression as she grieved over the loss of her family. Now, in the post-credit scene, we saw that the Scarlet Witch was reading the Darkhold and she was hearing the cries of help from her children across the multiverse. Soon after, Wanda discovered the abilities of America Chavez, who had the power to travel the multiverse at will. In Doctor Strange 2, we discovered that Wanda sent monsters to kidnap the young teen with the hopes of stealing her powers. In Wanda's mind, the Scarlet Witch would find her children in another universe with America Chavez's powers, and all would be right again. Now, I don't know about you, but I kept thinking to myself that her plan to kidnap America Chavez was just dumb, and I really thought that it was just bad writing. But the more I thought about it, and after watching the movie a second time, it might have been done on purpose. And if you think about in the film, we actually had some moments where even the other characters were calling out how stupid her plan was. Doctor Strange mentioned the most obvious point to Wanda, which was that her children were created by magic. His statement begged an even bigger and more obvious question, which was, why didn't Wanda just recreate her kids with more magic? In WandaVision, we saw that she bent all of reality over an entire town of Westview and made her kids up out of magic. So why not just do some of that again? In another instance, both Wong and Doctor Strange poked holes in the Scarlet Witch's plans by asking her to consider the Wanda variants in other universes. This was a great question because it highlighted how the Scarlet Witch would only continue the cycle of pain and grief by stealing the children of variant Wandas away from them. Now, Wanda's stupid plan blinded her by making her believe that her motivations were purely rooted in a mother's love for her children. However, when she was finally confronted with this truth at the end of the movie, it eventually was her downfall. Now, there was another issue that the Scarlet Witch didn't consider, and that was the Darkhold itself. I mean, since the Darkhold does give users what they desire, it could easily have given her, I don't know, the necessary knowledge or a spell to recreate the kids again. But it didn't. So now the question is, what is the real deal with the Darkhold? From both WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2, we learned that the Darkhold, aka the Book of the Damned, had some real bad side effects. It would give the reader what they wanted while corrupting them at the same time. Now, whether it be the Darkhold in the comics, or the Darkhold in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or even the Darkhold in the Runaways, whenever we saw the Darkhold, it always had the same thing going for it, which was that it would twist the reader's wishes, followed by dire outcomes. But of course, the Scarlet Witch was no exception to the book's evil side effects either. So could we just kind of wrap this up and say that Wanda's plan being so boo-boo just ended up being the fault of the Darkhold? Well, I guess that could be a very easy way out, a gimmicky way to explain her actions, but something else in the movie stood out to me that I thought was pretty interesting. As we saw in the opening of the film, America Chavez was being chased by a monster in another universe. Then, when she traveled to the current 616 universe, she was chased yet again by a giant squid monster, Gargantos. After hanging out with Doctor Strange and Wong, America said something very interesting.
That thing was trying to kidnap me. It's like a henchman who works for a demon.
Now, when I heard America Chavez say this, that's when everything started to make a little bit more sense after my second viewing. Now, she could have easily said a henchman that was working for a bad guy. She could have said a henchman that was working for a boss or something like that. But she specifically went out of her way to mention a demon. Well, what if I told you that while the movie had us believing that the monsters were the henchmen and Scarlet Witch was the demon, Well, in actuality, it was Scarlet Witch that was the henchman working for a demon all this time. Now, which demon, you might ask? Well, none other than the granddaddy demon of them all, Chthon. Supreme Sorcerer Wong was talking about him being the creator of the Darkhold and the one who built the temple on top of Wundagore Mountain. I don't think Marvel took the time to mention this demon multiple times for no reason. So, with Chthon's existence officially being confirmed in the MCU, I believe that the main reason why Wanda's plans and her motivations never really made sense was because they were never hers to begin with. I think that Chthon was the one making all the plans, and he was the one pulling all the strings in the background all this time. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with who Chthon is in the comics, let me give you a little background information, and hopefully this will make a little more sense. He used to look like this big black tentacle looking monster back in the day, but more recent comics have him looking a little bit more like this. Anyway, Chthon was an elder god who existed billions of years ago. He was the first master of dark art magic. He also was the source of chaos magic from which others could draw their powers from, just like the Scarlet Witch. When another being named Atum was killing off other elder gods, Chthon fled to another dimension. However, he wrote all of his knowledge of dark magic spells onto parchments. Those pages later formed into what is now known as the Darkhold, and the Darkhold would serve as an anchor back to Earth's dimension for Chthon. Now, this evil demon corrupted the souls of the mortals who read from the Darkhold throughout the centuries. The readers would falsely believe that their desires were being fulfilled when it was actually Chthon manipulating them. The demon would seek to accomplish his goal, which was to escape his dimension and find his way back to Earth. One of the main ways in the comics for this villain to achieve his goal was to do it through the Scarlet Witch. Now, we already know that the comics and the MCU are not always identical to one another. They're never straight up adaptations. But let's go ahead and talk about Chthon's connection to the Scarlet Witch and how it could potentially work in the MCU. As mentioned in Wandavision, the Scarlet Witch has an entire chapter dedicated just to her. With Chthon being the primary source of the document, it of course makes sense that he would share a connection with the Scarlet Witch. It's important to recall what Agatha said about the Scarlet Witch as well.
The Scarlet Witch is not born, she is forged.
Now, it's important to think about what Agatha said because if something were forged, that implies that there was a forger. Therefore, the Scarlet Witch, who was forged, probably was shaped or molded by the forger, Chthon. And you could probably even think of the title of Scarlet Witch as a mantle. With the multiverse showing us that there are multiple Wandas out there, we've only seen one Scarlet Witch. But if the Scarlet Witch really is a mantle, and if the multiverse has all these multiple Wandas out there, that means that Wanda's death at the end of Doctor Strange 2 might not be what you think. Sure, the 616 Wanda might be dead, but the Scarlet Witch could easily return. Chthon could tempt another Wanda from a different universe to use the Darkhold and become the new Scarlet Witch. I mean, this is not outside the wheelhouse for Marvel because they've killed off main characters and used their variants before as well. I do think that it's very possible that Chthon could make his grand appearance into the MCU, but he could be using the Scarlet Witch as his avatar to do it. The MCU has already established in the series Moon Knight that beings in other dimensions or universes could gain more power when they are channeled through an avatar here on Earth. So it would stand to reason that Chthon may have similar ambitions for Wanda. But that stands to question, if Wanda's plans were really Chthon's plans, then what exactly was Chthon's master plan? I believe that once Wanda started reading the Darkhold, Chthon set his plan into motion through her. He manipulated her with her desire to reunite with her children and gave her the knowledge of how to dreamwalk. This spell allows the user to possess their alternate universe counterparts. Recall, even Doctor Strange possessed his alternate zombie body through dreamwalking. I think Chthon helped Wanda use dreamwalking so that she could later track down America Chavez to steal her powers. Chthon probably wanted America's powers for himself because he desperately wants to find a way to escape his dimension, just like in the comics. If Wanda had successfully stolen America's power, then Chthon could have possessed Wanda through dreamwalking and used America's multiversal power to bring himself back to Earth. If any of this is true, then I don't think we can really hold Wanda completely accountable for her actions in Doctor Strange 2. She clearly was being used as a pawn in this evil demon's plans all this time. Now, if you're still on the fence, or maybe you're just not convinced that Chthon could be the one working in the background, let me give you a little bit more fun little pieces of evidence to consider. At the end of the movie, Doctor Strange was thinking about taking America's power to stop Wanda. However, he had a change of heart. She was afraid that she couldn't control her powers, but then Strange told America something very important.
Trust your power. That's how we stop her.
I can't control it.
Yes, you can. You have been all along. Every time you opened a portal, you sent us exactly where we needed to go.
This implies that from the very beginning of the movie, America, I guess, had, let's say, a sixth sense or something, that whenever she opened up portals to different dimensions, she just so happened to open them up exactly to where people needed to go. Or, in other words, whenever she opens up a dimensional portal, the destination is tied to that person in some way. So if that is true about America's powers, then let's think about that during the somewhat cringy moment in the movie when America started punching the Scarlet Witch. Now, America ended up defeating Wanda by opening up the exact right dimension where her kids were able to see Wanda be the monster that she truly had become. Of course, this demonstrated that America was actually in control of her powers, but if you noticed, America almost sent Wanda to a pretty hellish looking dimension where Wanda almost fell into. I believe that dimension is exactly where Chthon has been residing all this time, and we just got a sneak peek into it. Matter of fact, in true Marvel fashion, they slipped this same dimension in earlier in the movie that you might have missed when America and Doctor Strange were going through that first tumble throughout the multiverse. And if you still don't believe it, when you look at the comics, Chthon does reside in a very similar hellish looking place, so I think we just got a little bit more confirmation there. Anyway, what do you guys think about this theory for Doctor Strange 2? Does it make more sense that the evil entity Chthon could have been using the Darkhold to manipulate Wanda? Do you think that this explains why her plans never made sense? Do you think that maybe this redeems Wanda in some way because she was always a pawn in this case? Whatever you think, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.